The Athletic has a new mock draft out, as we'll have quite a few of those coming over the next couple of months. But I think it's generally interesting to discuss, not necessarily exact players when you get deep into draft, but I think positions and fits are interesting discussions at this point. I think we'll kind of nail things down a little bit more closely when the draft comes. But Dane Brugler had his mock draft posted at The Athletic, and I just wanted to check through and see what direction he wanted to go with the Saints. And before we get into names, he did a 2-round mock, and there are 2 Saints picks in the first and second round. I think position is the first place you have to start. If you've listened at all to Matt Moscone on our afternoon drive show and after further review, he says, I don't really care what position the Saints take because they need help everywhere. And there's absolutely an element of truth to that. I think you would probably prefer not to draft on the offensive line because you've sunk so much into that recently, but it's never a terrible idea to draft offensive line. Wide receiver, yeah, they need help. Running back, you got an aging Alvin Kamara and Kendre Miller can't stay on the field. Jamal Williams, bust of a free agent signing. Yeah, could probably use some help there. Don't know what Taysom Hill's future is at tight end. Got Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau on short-term deals. Well, I wouldn't immediately go grab a tight end, but I understand. Defensive front, yeah. You got Cam Jordan aging out. You got Chase Young as a free agent. On the edges, yeah. Interior, Brzee, pass rusher, but could there be somebody that you would plug in next to him to play there? Yeah, absolutely. Demario Davis is not going to play forever. You don't have a ton of depth behind Pete Werner. Okay. Secondary, I didn't see everything I wanted to see from Alontae Taylor over the last month once your 2 starting corners went down. I didn't see everything I wanted to see from Kool-Aid McKinstry. I realize you just took him in the second round, but okay. And then you move back to safety, and you got Tyrann Mathieu, who's aging. Jordan Howden, who is certainly not an all-pro at this point. So, I just went through the roster. You can use help everywhere. So you would be hard-pressed to find a pick that just made no sense whatsoever. And for so long, the Saints have kind of been looking to plug one hole. And that's why they've traded up so much, because they feel like they're always right next to getting the piece to put them over the top. No one could look at this Saints roster and think, yeah, they're one guy away from making the turn. Not even Mickey Loomis and whatever he had to say on Monday of this week. No one could think we're right there. So you just got to take kind of best player available and understand that you got to get the best player you can get for the next 5 years. That's the plan for the Saints early in this draft. And so in this mock draft, the first selection that the Saints will make is obviously number 9. And he's got the Saints taking Malakai Starks, the safety from Georgia. He writes, safety might feel like a luxury option for a Saints team that needs help at quarterback, pass catcher, and on the defensive line. But Starks can play across the secondary and will be a playmaker in different ways. With his athleticism, football IQ, makeup, he'll be an easy sell for NFL war rooms. The one thing I really like about Malakai Starks is that he started for 3 years essentially at Georgia. And to start for that long at a school that good that has produced that many good defensive players means a lot. He made 198 tackles at Georgia. He has 6 interceptions. He's not the biggest, most physically imposing guy that you'll find. Malakai Starks is listed at 6'1", 205. It's big enough to play safety, but it's not like he's some sort of LaRon Landry level enforcer. He's not Sean Taylor. But he's versatile. He can cover in the slot. He does make a lot of tackles. High football IQ, as you said, playing 3 years in a sophisticated and dominant system at Georgia. I think this makes a lot of sense. Tyrann Mathieu's got a lot more football in the rearview mirror than he does in front of him. And Jordan Howden hadn't showed me enough to say that, hey, we don't need to draft anybody there. So I think if you're trying to overhaul the secondary with Lattimore moving on and who knows what the case is with the Debo, you've got Kool-Aid McKinstry under contract. You've got Alontae Taylor under contract. Jordan Howden's a young player. Can Malakai Starks come in and help you there? I think that does make some sense. I do trust Dennis Allen in terms of drafting and developing young defensive backs. He did that very, very well throughout his time in New Orleans. Even undrafted guys they brought in that could help them. He's obviously not there anymore, so it's a different regime. Maybe my confidence level not quite what it would have been, but I think Malakai Starks does make a lot of sense. The next pick that they have the Saints making is at 40. It's the Saints' second-round pick. Keep in mind they've got 2/3 and 2/4 in this draft. But the next pick is at 40. And they have the Saints taking Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas. Matthew Golden had a productive career at Texas. 3 seasons, had 38 catches in each of the last two, in each of his first 2 seasons, and 58 this past year, just a tick under 1,000 yards. I love the fact that he scored a ton of touchdowns, 22 of them to be exact. Super productive, high-level offense, highest level of the sport in the SEC. Yes, that still applies. The only thing that gives me a little pause about this is that Matthew Golden is 6 feet tall and 195 pounds. And that sounds a lot like Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed to me. Now, certainly, there is doubt about the future of Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. Chris Olave did not come back this year because of the concussion issues. Rashid Shaheed has suffered a significant injury. So you can't just blindly rely on those 2 guys to return to their form. And yes, the Saints do need more depth at wide receiver. Unequivocally, yes. But I kind of figured that guy might be 6'4". Easier said than done. There are more 6'195" 195 receivers than 6'4", 215 receivers. But I feel like if the Saints are going to be shopping at receiver, it's going to be someone with a little different skill set. But again, you don't know how long you're going to have those guys under contract. You don't know how long they're going to play. You don't know what their health is going to be like. Maybe you're taking Matthew Golden to replace one of those guys. But ultimately, it's probably just best available player. There's not, again, any position on the field I would look at and go, you really can't draft that. I didn't even mention quarterback in my long diatribe there. And yeah, you could draft a quarterback. I wouldn't think that was crazy. Wouldn't help you necessarily a lot in 2025, but I wouldn't think it was bad for the organization. But these 2 guys come from big-time programs, huge athletes, big recruits, won a lot of games, super productive, 3-year starters and producers. I think that would be a heck of a start, and we all know this. We all know this. This is as big a draft for New Orleans as the franchise has seen in quite some time. We all like to point to 2017, and it's great fun to do so. And I don't know if I felt like entering the 2017 draft, it had to be all world. But the fact is, it was. It put some great players, all pro-level players, on your team on the cheap for those 2 really good runs in 19 and 20. So, and even 18 wasn't bad. So, I like the direction of both of these as expected because you feel like there aren't any directions they could go that you wouldn't like. But the only thing that, as you kind of look at fit, the 6-foot speedy receiver feels like something they've kind of got. I guess I just don't know what those guys' futures hold in the immediacy because of the injuries they sustained and the time they missed in 2024. If you want to check out that mock draft, you can do so on The Athletic. Every single pick for 2 rounds is in. Dang Brugler has done it. It's not quite as much fun as if the Saints had a lot of picks in the 1st and 2nd round. Instead, the bulk of their picks come in the 3rd and 4th round where they've got about 4 total. But that's a start where the Saints may be going here in the offseason. First, got to get a head coach, and we'll certainly bring you the latest on that every day as we move forward towards that. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.